This is speedrunning, the act of completing an objective in a video game as fast as humanly possible. And this is Doogile. On November 6, 2022, Doogile broke the Minecraft RSG world record, a record which over the years has been contested by thousands of top-level players and now stands at an astounding 8 minutes and 15 seconds. But this is far from where the story begins. You see, despite his sudden appearance in the speedrunning community, Doogile had built up his name long ago for being the world's fastest Minecraft bridger, a skill which gathered the attention of millions across the internet. Doogile's journey in speedrunning started there, with bridging, where he quickly realized that his ability to focus and dedicate himself to learning a difficult skill would separate him from the rest. Except, there was one problem. In the early days of bridging, the community was extremely small. The skill had yet to blow up on YouTube, and as a result, learning the ropes to this concept proved to be a very difficult challenge. While the vast majority of players at this time spent months developing their skills, Doogile managed to learn the basics in a matter of hours, climbing to the top almost instantly. Doogile spent the next several months mastering his bridging ability, learning how to do the famous godbridge, all the way up until initially deemed impossible methods such as telly bridging. His absurdly fast growth on YouTube came when he became the first person in the world to be able to do something called a speed telly. To this day, this is still the fastest bridging method in the world and is one that has garnered hundreds of millions of views across the internet over the past 2 years. Doogile began to break record after record, with nobody even coming close for months on end. But of course, over time, the bridging community began to catch up until just about every top level player was also capable of doing exactly what Doogile had started. Doogile was stuck, as was the rest of the bridging community. No progress seemed to be getting made, and the initially booming community came to a standstill. It was around this time that Doogile began to develop an interest in speedrunning, and he began to learn the basics unknown to absolutely anyone, as he had not uploaded any runs or streamed at all at this time. The very first piece of evidence to Doogile's speedrunning journey is an unlisted video on his channel where he achieved a time of 16 minutes and 35 seconds. After this point, Doogile began to start streaming his speedruns, though due to his time being far from contending any records whatsoever, he was not getting many viewers. This spike of interest in speedrunning from Doogile was short-lived, however, as bridging began to see some new development. Doogile decided to put speedrunning on hold for a while and went back to bridging, where the tap speed telly had just been invented. Doogile spent hours upon hours over the next months to prove that he was still competitive with the best bridgers in the world, and managed to reclaim his title by breaking and tying each new world record, leaving no room for any doubt that he was still the best in the world. After this point, the bridging development began to slow down, but Doogile, as well as many other known bridgers, continued to develop new methods and began to reinvent bridging through things like the 4-block flat telly, as well as using head hitters on the final island to save time. This extreme attention to detail and optimization is a big part of what helped Doogile get the world record, but we'll discuss that more later. After spending so long trying to optimize bridging, Doogile felt that his interest in the game itself had begun to fade, and it was at this exact point in Doogile's journey that he realized he wanted to pick up speedrunning again. But this time, it was different. It's important for me to note that during this entire time of Doogile's bridging reign, as well as his regained spark of interest in speedrunning, I was talking with him pretty consistently. Having this personal insight on Doogile's situation allowed for me to see that this wasn't just another player learning a random skill to kill time on weekend. Doogile's extreme motivation to maximize the value of every single millisecond in his bridging records provided him with an interest in optimizing just about every single possible aspect of the Minecraft speedrun to an extent which had never really been seen before. As Doogile began to break his personal best over and over, working his way down to a competitive time of 11 minutes and 47 seconds, he began to realize a trend that all other speedrunners were subconsciously doing, which was sabotaging their potential to break the world record, and was something that he knew he could improve upon. You see, in the bridging community where Doogile first made his name, every single in-game tick counts, and if a bridge is even slightly off from the very start, the chances of breaking the record instantly go to 0. Similar to this, in modern speedrunning, speedrunners will load into promising seeds only to find that they may have slight inconveniences which cause the runs to end up taking more time than would be preferred. Doogile started to realize that every top runner out there was not really maximizing their speedrunning efforts, as they would often play out seeds that never truly had potential from the start. In speedrunning, the term resetting is thrown around a lot, and despite being pretty self-explanatory, it holds a lot of value. Doogile realized that in order for him to truly have a shot at the world record, he was going to have to be brutally honest with himself about every single run he played and whether or not it had genuine potential to break the mighty world record, which thousands upon thousands of players could only dream of breaking. Doogile quickly began to stick out from the crowd. The few who were tuning into his streams at this time began to notice his odd resetting pattern, and this was initially detrimental to him, as viewers on Twitch did not enjoy watching a runner reset after even the slightest inconvenience. I have genuinely witnessed on more than one occasion Doogile reset a succeed simply because his mouse slipped while breaking a log from a tree, or his crafting took longer than he felt it should. Of course, this came with some exceptions, but it was this incurable drive to perfect every aspect of the speedrun that caused Doogile to inevitably get the world record. Things began to take a turn for the better when Doogile decided to start posting his runs onto a channel which is now known as Doog. This channel, however, briefly went by the name of Doogile, which was extremely short-lived as I told him it sucked. Oh yeah, I was his first subscriber, by the way. Regardless of the name, this new channel became a place for Doogile to upload his attempted runs, regardless of whether or not they were actually fully played out. In fact, the vast majority of the videos on this channel were incompleted runs, which despite lacking a successful ending, displayed to the speedrunning community an extreme level of skill and an ability to consistently achieve paces that were competitive with the best in the world. Doogile began to gain some traction in the speedrunning community as people began to appreciate the method of resetting worlds that were even mildly inconvenient, which of course is what originally had set him back. It was on July 26th of this year when Doogile proved to the entire community that he was not just another runner, as this was the day he got a new personal best of 10 minutes and 18 seconds. This time, while not only being extremely competitive, was an astounding 1.5 minutes faster than his old personal best. And it was at this point that players began to realize that with the strategies he was implementing, Doogile was improving at a rate which is nearly unheard of in the speedrunning community. Doogile, of course, is no rookie when it comes to world records, as at this point he had already broken and held countless bridging world records, and at one point came within milliseconds of breaking a world record while using a MacBook. It was at this point that Doogile's Twitch and YouTube channel began to gain a lot of traction, and by consistently streaming, Doogile was achieving some crazy paces pretty much every single day. Most commonly, Doogile would upload footage of his fastest blinds, a blind of course being when you travel back to the overworld by building your own portal. Pretty much every upload on Doogile's channel at this point was on world record pace, and it wasn't long before he managed to get a new personal best and his first ever sub 10. Doogile's previous personal best had already been 1.5 minutes faster than his one before, so when in one run he managed to go from a 10:18 to a 9:21 PB, the community was absolutely stunned. A time improvement of 57 seconds allowed for him to be within a mere minute of the world record, and Doogile's improvement only got crazier from here. After this point, Doogile managed to continue with his crazy paces, and also becoming the master of all nether portals. Like, why do you need to make one this fast, bro? What? But in all seriousness, the paces as well as the nether portals themselves were a reflection of how fast Doogile was improving, and how close he really was to the world record. This became astoundingly apparent on October 27th when Doogile managed to get a time of 8 minutes and 46 seconds, a time that would put him top 3 in the entire world, and was simply mere seconds away from being the world record. At this point, every time Doogile streamed, he was averaging a crazy amount of viewers as people were just waiting for the inevitable world record. And they did not have to wait long because only 2 weeks later, on November 6th, Doogile broke the RSG world record with a time of 8 minutes and 15 seconds. On top of this being a world record, it was also an improvement of over 20 seconds to Sagi's world record, which of course had been 8 minutes and 36 seconds. The speedrunning community was pretty ecstatic. Over such a short span of time, Doogile had managed to become one of the most known runners in the community, and breaking the world record was his final step in proving that he was truly the best of the best. The crazy thing about this run is that in modern speedrunning, it is entirely beatable. Doogile himself, as well as several other runners such as Feinberg, Crooks, and way more, have all been on paces way faster than this, and it definitely won't be long before some big developments are made. But that is where Doogile's story comes back to date, with him being the world record holder in one of the biggest speedrunning categories in the entire world, and arguably one of the best speedrunners Minecraft has ever seen. If you enjoyed this video, definitely don't forget to subscribe, and go watch this video where I document Doogile's journey to becoming the best bridger in the world.